Hey, what's up? This is the Hate 7 podcast. I am Gary. I'm so glad you're here today. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Plenty of gray skies and rain clouds, if that's your prerogative. This podcast is focusing on people from the 870 and what it meant then and what it means now and what people are up to like these days. Like, what are they doing, right? So we talk about a lot of band stuff from time to time, and we explore, like, we go into the past and kind of explore like what it meant to them and what it means to them now and what they're doing now. And we even talk about bands that we can't remember. So we invite you to join the conversation on our Instagram. That's Hate70 Podcast, spell it out, and add our email, Hate70 Podcast as well, spell it out, please. Feel free to add us, fact check us, and we are not the authorities on all things music or 870, but collectively maybe we can get our story straight. So with that out of the way, I'd like to welcome our guest today. He played in several bands in the area, and I'm happy to call him my friend, Mr. Josh Costner. How are you, buddy?
I am doing fantastic. How about yourself, Gary?
I am doing well myself. I am excited about this podcast because we, especially today, because there's one band that has been repeatedly come up time after time after time, and I do want to jump into like Kingsdown because you had a hand in Kingsdown, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Spent some time in the studio. Spent some time out on the road touring with them.
Yeah. So what? So how long? So we're going to fill in some gaps because, like I said in the intro, like I am not the absolute authority in like all the bands that came up from around here, or because they didn't start in Jonesboro. Like they were from like where were they from originally?
Cabot, Cave City, down around that area.
That's where they were from.
Batesville, yeah.
Because they played Jonesboro so much that I thought they were actually a Jonesboro band, which absolutely that'd be inaccurate because like Carla would bring those guys in like all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, they actually, I think what they considered to be like their home turf was a place called the Depot in Batesville. It was an old railroad station that was set up as a venue. Now it's a restaurant.
No way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So like, do you know like when they actually like started up? Because I think the time they started up and the time you like started playing with them, there was like a little bit of gap in time, right?
Yeah, they had been playing for a while before I came on the scene. I actually moved here in 2004, summer of 2004.
Gotcha.
And that summer was when my brother and I started the band Tragic Stories In.
I can't wait to talk about that. Yeah.
But yeah, and then Kingsdown had already been around recording. I think they already had an EP at that point.
Okay.
So I don't remember exactly when they originally got started, but they had been going for a while.
Okay. So there was all kinds of like wondering like were they signed? Were they on a major label? Were they about to be in a major label? Like what happened? Like I always heard different stories from different people, so I was like, I don't know. I mean, I heard they were like they're out and about and they're touring, and because they were definitely good enough to get on a major label type of deal situation. So what do you know anything about that?
So they had a management team.
Yeah.
And management team kept things pretty behind closed doors.
Sure.
I guess you could say I was more of a hired gun, not really actual band member.
Okay.
So the management team kept it very, 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 secretive what was going on.
Really? Okay.
What I do know from my time of like touring with them, which would have been years later, by the time I got on board with them was 2010.
Okay. Cool.
That's when they released their self-titled album, Kingsdown.
Okay.
And they were being courted by major record labels. They had even what was it? Is it Roadrunner Records? That was Nickelback's record label. They were being looked at by Roadrunner and some others like that. And so and in that course of time, we got to play with a lot of big names.
Wow.
I remember actually we shared the stage with like Saving Abel and big rock bands of that nature at that time. Which is actually where I struck up my friendship with Jared Weeks, who was lead singer of Saving Abel.
Very cool.
And we still talk to this day. Matter of fact, just a couple of days ago, we had a conversation.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I know they were being courted by the major record labels, but nothing that I'm aware of, nothing ever actually got put on paper.
Really? Okay. Because so I mean, I guess that's kind of like, because they were turning heads and everything, and rightfully so, and everything. Because Lonnie was talking about last week how, his first impression was like, whoa, because not only were they like, they're a bunch of talented dudes, but they're also like very like stage presence was pretty amazing.
Yeah, stage presence was huge. That's one thing that Dwayne and Blaine pushed very hard. Is you're there to engage the crowd, whether there's 10 people or 1,000 people, doesn't matter.
Right.
We give them an experience.
Absolutely. Which I could agree with that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. That's why, like, when I go to shows, that's when I'm kind of like, I love the music, but I'm also kind of like, but do you remember like going to shows back in the day? Do you remember going to like hey, do you remember like, I'll use this as an example, when like there was like a gang of us that went to the Complex way back in the day, and like like Memphis was trying to like jumpstart things, and they brought in the tour. It was like the Chariot, and it was like As Cities Burn, and again, a band I can't remember, but do you remember that show? Because you were there, and I bring this up because like As Cities Burn and the Chariot are great examples of like not only bringing the sound, but also kind of bringing like the experience where you're kind of walking away like, whoa, like what did I just see?
Yes.
So that's what I'm kind of looking for too. I mean, because I walk away with this like blown away type attitude. Like I'm like, we're at IHOP or we're at Waffle House like after the show, and we're just like, holy cow, did you see Josh? Or holy cow, did you see like Homeboy was like just like swinging the mic stand everywhere, and
they were the personification of extreme crowd interaction and stage presence, as opposed to like going to see Hawthorne Heights. And oftentimes they would just stand there and sing.
Right.
You're like, what's going on here?
I think I don't want to be pegged as the guy like, so people got to move around for you to gotta like to really enjoy. And not really. I think some bands are that, but some bands that are playing like, because at that time, I forget what year that was when we kind of actually went down there to go see those two bands. But man, you're kind of blown away by like not only like this like the creative like musicality of the guys, but they're able like to hit. Well, maybe not the Chariot, but they're able to hit all these notes, and still like just blow minds.
Right.
It's incredible. So I'm like, yeah, man. I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's all about sight and sound.
Well, I think at the Complex as well, there were several times we were there watching, the Chariot and Norma Jean and bands like that. Which now go a little bit further back. My first encounter with like hardcore / post-hardcore was Evergreen Terrace.
Was it really?
Yes.
Now I would not have guessed that whatsoever.
Yeah, that was the first time I got introduced to that basic genre, and my first impression was, what is this? I didn't know what to think, but by the end of the night, I thought, oh my gosh, this is incredible.
Now, where did you see him at?
It was in Memphis.
Okay.
I don't remember the name of the venue because it was a venue that was not around very long.
It wasn't the Complex, right?
No, it wasn't the Complex. It was something else. It was almost like a storefront.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't think it existed much longer.
There was a place, because I went to a show. I don't know if you were there. Went to a show at Evergreen Terrace was at. I want to say, I went with Jimmy Harvey, and there was like a show. It had Evergreen Terrace. At that time, it was Every Time I Die was on the show. Was Every Time I Die on that show?
I think so.
Were they?
Yeah.
So we're probably at the same show, and that was fantastic. I think that was one of the first times I think Evergreen Terrace have kind of like had visited like the Memphis area. So, and isn't that crazy to think, Like, Evergreen Terrace obviously blew up, and Every Time I Die obviously blew up, and and here we are, like you said, like some like storefront type building with like maybe I don't know, about 100, maybe 100, 150 people were
Yeah,
there.
probably 150.
Yeah, and so we're like, that's.
And
But I
then
had no clue that was your first impression of a.
yeah, and shortly after that, then of course I ended up at the complex watching some of these other bands, especially As Cities Burn. And As Cities Burn, I don't know what it was, but I was able to establish a friendship with Cody. And
No way.
yeah, we text back and forth for a long time. Once I got out of music there for a little while, then we lost contact. But there for several years, Cody Bonnet and we stayed in contact quite a bit and had a lot of good conversations. Very down to earth guy.
Down to earth, dude.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that for sure. I mean, they are, man, what a band, right? I mean, what a career.
I think they just played their last show, didn't they, this past fall at was it Furnace Fest?
Yeah, they played the last show at Furnace Fest, and big crowd.
Awesome.
Big crowd, obviously a big crowd.
I actually shot Cody a message
Did you?
a few weeks before the show, and I was like, "Hey, man, I don't know if you remember, me because it's been years since we talked.
Right.
I was like, but just want to say thank you for the conversations we had, and thank you for the music you've created because it's been incredible."
Well, from top to bottom, I think from lyrically to just the music, because they were an original band, man. My first record popped off, and it was like ballistic. Just like just the melodies and just the chaos, and it was all their own too. It wasn't anything that because it was really easy. Well, let me put it another way. It was really hard to be kind of like an original kind of stick out type of band during that time, and they pulled it off well, and they became like the template, I think, for a lot of other bands. Like, yo, what they're doing, I want to do too.
What's really cool is seeing at that time the launch of so many, not necessarily the launch, but the bands that maybe had been around for a few years but finally were gaining traction and getting to see them in those moments when no one knew who they were,
Right.
and then getting to witness the rise. You go back around that same time, and there was so many what later became huge bands that played to the tiniest crowds at the High Tone Cafe in Memphis. I can remember going to watch 18 Visions, and Nash, the lead singer, was just killed it. They had this little known band open for them. They were the coolest guys. We hung out with them for like an hour after the show, just chilling because no one was there after the show.
Right,
it was just
right.
me, my brother Sam.
Right.
Brian Finley was there.
Oh,
who was
man.
our guitarist.
Oh, man, Brian.
Craig Brandon was there with us as
Wow,
well. So we're
that's
all
great.
sitting there, and this little known band would later become known as Under Oath.
Ain't it nuts? What the heck, bro? Ain't that crazy, dude?
It was an incredible night.
So you were at the show. You went to go see 18 Visions at the High Tone?
Yeah. And Under Oath was the opening act, I believe.
Ain't that nuts, dude?
Yeah.
And that's another band, too. That's kind of like, it's hard to think that they've been around for like 2 decades, and like what they've kind of like morphed into, it's crazy. Even because that's like, I mean, Under Oath and like 18 Visions and that whole era, man, that whole era was like unreal. Unless you were kind of like living in the moment during that era, like all the music that was coming out. Man, talking about a kid in a candy store.
Oh.
It's just like, it was unreal. Unreal, because we were like witnessing like, because you got to think about like, Solid State's popping, favorite music is popping, and Trust Kill is popping, and like all these, you got Christian and non-Christian bands are touring together. Like Every Time I Die, Norma Jean tours, and Under Oath, and Atreyu tours and things like that. It's like, man, what a beautiful time to be alive.
One thing I really appreciate is the bands who have either come back together to reunite and picked up the torch once again, or then other artists like Ronnie Radke, who around the 2010 point
Right.
picked up the torch really pushed hard to keep it lit and carry it forward.
Music is alive, bro.
Oh yes, Oh yes, and the crazy thing is, people like Ronnie Radke and Tom McDonald and a lot of these other artists who are never getting mainstream media coverage
Right.
are topping the digital charts in ways that nobody else is, and the major record labels just cannot stand it.
Well, I was talking to somebody at work, like, uh, this past week. I go, man, you don't need because we were going through like, we're like, so like, how many, like, I think we're doing the math, like on Spotify, like 1 million listens is $8,000. I was listening to a podcast, and I was listening to Everlast, and I think that's what he said. It's like 1 million plays, $8,000, and what we were doing, we were looking. My buddy was like, we were like talking about Down with the Sickness by Disturbed, you know. I go, I bet you $100 bill that thing has 1 billion plays on Spotify. Anyway, I didn't shake his hand, but it was close. So I don't owe him any money. But anyway, it was 730 million
Wow.
plays, you know. And told him, I go, that's 730 million times $8,000. That's how much, you know. That's or no wait, yeah, 730 times 8,000. That's how much they're making off that. All right, but of course they had a major label though, so they're gonna have to. There's some cuts are gonna have to be. You know, the band's not getting all that.
Right.
And I go, you'd be dumb to sign up to a label these days.
Mm-hmm.
There's a really, really good band. You're into pop punk a lot.
Yeah.
And there's a really good pop punk band. The singer, A Story So Far, started a band called No Pressure. And they're not signed at all. And they're like, like their top 5 songs have 4 million plays each. I go, yo, they don't have to divide that with anyone.
Exactly.
You know, but the band. And I mean, that's just the best way to kind of like, to do what you love, you know, to make a living. Of course, it helps if your singer is like from A Story So Far, right? But still, that's amazing, you know. So, but yeah, don't sign to no, you know, we don't even know label or whatever. And I get why people do, you know. I mean, you see that in hardcore a lot, you know. So, but I think it's for different reasons for that, because a lot of these guys can do what they can do. The bands can do what they can do like on their own. But I get it. You get to this certain point, we're gonna need a booking agent. You know, if you get as big as some of these guys, like it's like Turnstile or Terror or some of these guys, you know, you're gonna need somebody to kind of help, you know, kind of lighten the load. I get that part. But if you can do it, but some of these bands don't even like. Some of these bands are not touring majorly. They're just kind of like they have day jobs.
Right.
So they'll play like maybe like 10, 12, 15 shows a year. But they're big shows, though. It might be festivals.
Oh, yeah. The regional guys, the guys that do it regionally. Look at Go for Gold, pop punk. Great band, incredible song structures and vocals. Spencer Vinson, I've actually had conversations with him, and they're based out of Little Rock.
Really?
Yeah. They're on Spotify. They're on all the major.
This is a pop punk band?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Out of Little Rock?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Fairly new. I say fairly new. I think they've been around about 5-6 years.
That's awesome.
Roughly.
Okay.
I could be off on that time period, but yeah, Spencer Vinson. Yeah, check him out sometime. His vocals are just fantastic. I've actually had conversations with a guy. He's very down to earth.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no clue.
Yeah, there's a lot. And see, that's the thing. There's a lot of new talent up and coming that either is making waves or, you know, just now hitting the surface that I think these guys have actually Jason Nicoli has a much better grip on the pop punk realm than I do.
He does.
But he has
Well, I'm saying
he has an incredible
yeah.
knowledge of who's up and coming in that field.
Gotcha.
And then you have like Sum 41 and Blink 182 getting back together. That's really reignited that whole genre to take hold again. And then you had, of course, several months ago, Blink 182, and they released that single One More Time.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, I watched that video and it hit the heartstrings, and so many memories are in that song alone. I mean, I got tears in my eyes.
Niagara Falls, Joshy.
Dude.
Niagara Falls.
You, it was it hit the heartstrings.
You can't help it though. I mean, especially as like the music that we enjoy. I mean, as far as like anything from like punk, emo, hardcore, those type of things are like they all sing about things that are uh, about brotherhood and unity and reminiscing and things like that about people that we've lost, and we kind of let it. We definitely wear our hearts on our sleeves. That kind of
Oh,
music does, so we can't help it,
and even As I Lay Dying,
Yeah,
when their lead singer came back from prison, got back with the band,
right,
and then wrote about his struggles and what had caused him to go off the path and
right.
his recovery from that. Powerful stuff. It's human. It's the story. It's our story, the story of humanity. And so when you have bands that can put the relatable lyrics to awesome music like that,
Oh yeah,
it's incredible.
just vulnerability.
Yes, absolutely. Have you Anchor or Anchor, however you want to say it, Ankor, uh, incredible,
Uh-uh,
incredible band.
I
Uh,
haven't heard of. I haven't
um,
heard of.
their song "Prisoner," it was released just last year. Oh my God, probably, and it's a female lead vocalist. She's incredible, very almost Hayley Williams, but can scream like nobody's business as well.
Yeah,
Female drummer who just kills it. One of the best drummers I've ever seen.
Mercy.
I mean, just killing it. And
I love being alive during these days of music because chances are no one can keep up with like everything. So it's great to be exposed to kind of like when somebody goes, "Have you checked out such and such?" I'm like, "Well, no, I haven't heard of them," and that is such a great thing. Uh, because like back in the day, well, even back then, like during the 2000s, there was like I think it was hard to keep up with a lot of bands too. I mean, I know MySpace was popping and everybody's trying to keep up with like what's hot. It was hard to keep up. Sometimes it was also hard to find some of these bands. It wasn't like unless you were on MySpace or unless you're on MP3.com or whatever. It was hard to find these bands. Like I remember the first time I saw like Misery Signals, when it was like on MP3.com, and I was like, holy cow! And that's how you discovered them. But I'm really it's exciting. So yeah, I'll check out that band. It's really cool to kind of like I always love checking out what folks are kind of listening to and whatnot. I do want to kind of like kind of dig in. So you came back here in 2004. Um, now you started with like tragic stories, right?
yeah, Tragic Stories in.
So was something that you kind of were there from the ground up, or was it already popping? Was it in somebody's like how did that how to tragic when was Tragic Stories born? I guess.
I was born summer of 2004. Sam,
Gotcha.
I had just gotten out of the military.
I gotcha.
Um, I had served actually in Operation Iraqi Freedom in
Okay. Awesome.
2003. Got out of the military in 2004, and my brother was like, "Hey, do you want to start a band?"
Yeah.
And that's about the time we were going, to the High Tone and the Complex and places like that. And I was getting a taste of,
Right.
hardcore slash post-hardcore and all this stuff. And so I
Sure.
was like, yeah, let's do something. And he said, let's do something in that vein of music. So, and Sam and I, we grew up in a musical family.
Gotcha. Oh yeah.
And my
Yeah.
brother
Yeah.
Nicole too, sister Nicole, brother Nicole. Wow, I need more coffee.
Sorry.
I need more coffee.
It's coffee over here. Stat. What are you drinking? Like, what's your coffee? What's your coffee choice?
My coffee choice, you're going to freak out.
I will not freak out. I'm sitting down.
Above all things, I prefer black coffee as strong as you can get it
Gotcha.
with a dash of salt and a dollop of butter.
What's that? Of what measurement of butter?
A dollop. DOLLOP. A dollop.
Is that in the metric system?
I think it's in the estimation system.
Estimation system.
Yeah. It's basically a tablespoon.
A tablespoon of butter.
There was old commercials. Remember, everything's better with a dollop of Daisy? Daisy sour cream?
Who's Daisy? Sour
Yeah.
cream? Okay,
Mhm.
a dollop of Daisy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think probably 80s.
Dollop? Okay. I like it. No, that's not bad.
But
It's probably better for you than
a lot of other things I could put in there.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Trying to get away from sugar.
Yeah,
Primarily.
absolutely.
I digress. Sorry.
I do. I know. I'm the king. I'm the king of distraction. But anyway, so or being distracted.
Well,
Uh,
I do have extreme ADD or ADHD. I think they call it now. In the '80s, I think it was just referred to as ADD. But
what do they know? Anyway.
give me my shot of Ritalin and I'll keep going. I'm kidding. No.
Well, I always call I like your brother Sam. He's a good dude.
Sam is incredibly brilliant in creating music and lyrical content, and he's so. Sam is really intelligent and smart and just a deep thinker, and I've always loved that about him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He was my Steph just freaking brought a bar of butter to the table.
I don't know how much a dollop is.
But we're about to see what a dollop is, though.
Yeah.
She literally bought like a can of salt, a container of salt, and a.
So that's about a dollop. Right
That's
there.
a dollop.
Yeah, that's about a dollop.
So if you're listening, it looks like. I think you know what. That's kind of what I was envisioning in my head. What a dollop would look like. It's kind of like a. It's like a. It's like a 1 inch by half-inch slice of butter.
Yeah.
That's wild.
For those of you that can't see it, it's a beautiful experience. I invite you
So
to join me.
So what's up with the butter? Like, what does it do to the coffee?
It just adds a rich flavor to it. For me, I like the flavor. It actually came about, and here I am digressing again. It's part of a sort of a ketogenic lifestyle.
Gotcha.
So I have over the past few years, because in 2019 I became a fat boy. I went from I'd always been about 180 pounds, and I went to about 240.
I gotcha.
I had to start changing how I eat. So, but that nutritional journey has paid off, and I'm sort of a keto carnivore hybrid over the past year or so. And I'm back down close to my goal weight. So.
Awesome, dude.
But
no, but what I was saying about Josh always not Josh, but Sam was like, "You're Josh. I'm Gary. He's Sam." So I always tease Sam. Like he was kind of my local James Hart fix at local shows because there was a certain thing that he would do on stage. It reminded me of James Hart of 18 Visions. So I always waited for and so I loved, when I went to go see you guys, I always waited for that moment. So I was like, there's my little James Hart moment. Now I can go. So, but okay, I'll let you go. So you guys are going to so you're going to shows, and Sam is wanting to start, and you and Sam are wanting to start up something. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, well, we started piecing together a band. Brian Finley was one of the OGs, and really instrumental too in creating a lot of the guitar parts. He was impressive, very impressive, still is today, in my opinion. He'll deny it, but I think he's always been extremely talented with guitar and drums too. But so we started doing a little bit of songwriting, and I believe by that fall we had about 7 songs we'd created.
Dang.
So 6 or 7.
You guys are grinding.
Oh yeah, it was nonstop.
Shoot.
Of course, I was fresh out of the military, had a lot of good pent up anger from combat,
There you go.
We dove into it with a ferocity, and rotated through a couple different band members to really get the right feel.
Right.
Finally we had Matt Simpson. Matt Simpson was our bassist.
Shout out Matt.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Killer bassist. Of course, a brilliant musician all the way around. And then Nick Saunders on drums. Probably one of the most innovative drummers. His ability to create unique drumming patterns is just unparalleled.
Was it hard to find people who were kind of like, "Hey, this is the template of what we're wanting to do," especially in that day, like this is because you got to think about it. I mean, like metalcore and post-hardcore type thing is kind of like during that time is fresh for many folks during that time. Was it hard to find folks who were actually listening to that, or were?
Well, I mean, the that genre, I think, has always been a little. It's kind of, I don't want to call it subculture, but it's definitely a niche for sure, or niche, or however you want to say that. It's very there's a certain pocket of the demographical makeup that will listen to it and enjoy it, and it's not a large demographic by
No,
any
it's not
means.
very large at all.
But if you like, for me, I came from a bluegrass background. My teenage years was primarily spent in bluegrass.
Then
And
you're built perfect for this then.
yes, because you think of the technical aspect of the skill sets it takes to be able to play those types of bluegrass and folk scales
Right.
to be proficient at it. And then that translates beautifully into metal. So most of the time, it could just be translated by converting it from major to minor chord structures.
Mercy, yeah.
And there you
go.
have it. You're rocking and rolling. So
Were you leading? Are you playing like, did you guys have like a rhythm guitarist, lead guitarist? I still don't know what our band has. I think we just have guitarist. I don't know.
I was more rhythm, really.
Guitar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sam, too. I provided a lot of the low end chug under everything because I always I ran heavier gauge strings.
Nice.
So I would run heavier gauge strings and drop tuning to really get that full bass, we're increasing your testosterone by 50% with every chug.
I feel you. I feel you.
Brian was great at sweeps, so we relied on Brian for more of the sweeps and the lead fills.
Nice.
And then, of course, Sam did rhythm. And actually, there were times where I think Sam focused mostly on vocals.
Gotcha.
There were some songs I don't think that Sam really played guitar on, if I recall correctly. Again, my memory after the war is just shot.
Well, like, I mean, when I saw him, when I first, like, saw you guys, I think it was at, do you remember Burgess Music in Jonesboro?
Vaguely.
I could have swore, man, and this is weird. It was we were on Nettleton, and it wasn't Ghost Town. It was on the other side of the street. I remember this place. Ghost Town wasn't even a thing then, but we were at this place, and I could have swore it was like in Burgess Music. But I remember walking in, and there's like you guys are playing, and I was like, I just thought of that just now because I'm kind of running through my brain like the times and places where I saw you guys, and I'm like,
it's possible. I mean, we did play a lot of shows back then. I can't even recall all
and
the
I'm
places.
like,
I remember playing some shows at oh gosh, I don't even know what it is now. At the time, it was a large gymnasium in downtown Jonesboro.
there's so many
just
spots.
over the bridge. There was a large gymnasium there we played in a couple of times. Kingsdown actually played with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys you guys like riding during the summer, and by fall you have 7 songs. So where do you go?
Several songs. I don't remember exactly how many, but
so where do you guys play? Like where's your first show at?
oh gosh, first show. Man, I want to say the Powerhouse.
The Powerhouse?
I think it was at the Powerhouse.
The one on Main?
Yeah, the one, when it was on Main Street.
Okay.
Where is it Brick House?
Oh yeah.
Brick House is now. Yeah.
Yeah. So original lineup is you.
Yeah, when we played, it was Nick Saunders on drums, Matt Simpson on bass, me and Brian, guitars, and then Sam vocals primarily.
Okay.
And that was the lineup. Now, and then we started playing there quite a bit. And then
you did.
Later, Get Down opened up across the street, and then we would play shows there as well. Now here's where it really gets interesting. There was this little band at the time. Nobody knew who they were. They were from Conway. They came up and they opened for us several times.
Okay.
And later on, they blew up and became huge, and they're now known as Hawk Nelson.
Well, look at you.
I can remember Hawk Nelson opening for us and just being like, man, we're just so glad to be here. Thanks, guys, for coming out.
Well, look at you. Looky. That's awesome, man. I mean, and that's the great thing about it is because it's kind of like what we were saying before is like, you never know. Like the bands you're playing with tonight might be the bands, that are kind of
Right.
blow up tomorrow.
And that's why it's important to really foster those relationships.
Oh man,
And
yeah, dude, totally.
it'd be cross genre. It might be some music you don't even really care for. We played a gig at the complex, if I recall correctly, with a band that was up and coming. They were very cool, down to earth. I sat at the bar with the lead singer, and we had a
Sure.
great conversation. Later, just right after that, they get signed, and lo and behold, it's gym class heroes. So being able to share the space with people like that and just have good, genuine relationships, I think it's extremely essential.
Yeah, and bands like that, you would think that bands who grind and everything um, for years, they're humble dudes, they're thankful dudes. I mean, to do in this genre too, I think to do because a lot of that is just doing what you do for the love of it, and not looking to kind of get a record deal or money or anything like that. Because if that's really not your motivation is to share like the music that you guys have written together. If that's not the motivation and the fuel, then you'll fizzle out pretty soon. If your whole motive is to like get big and do all these things, and it's not, it's all about perspective. And those type of things have really helped me personally in life because if you go forward with the right motivation, whether it's like work or whether it's like your lifestyle as far as like taking care of yourself and eating right or artistically, if your motivation is always pure from that standpoint and nothing ulterior, you're going to go further and it's going to be good for you. It's going to be um, you're going to be appreciative and thankful, and you're going to have a good head in your shoulders about things. And because I liked you read some Stephen Covey back in your day, right? And
Yes.
he did a lot of like he did like a comparison between like um, there are these principles that kind of run deep in life, and there's things like that's basically just based on personality. It's not very deep. It's just very very thin, and it's all about like how a person looks on the outside and kind of looking for like the applause and all these type of things. But if you do things from a true like standpoint of like, hey, I'm gonna do this because I want to be a better version of who I am. You know,
Yes.
I think there's a lot more. You end up with a product at the end that you're very very proud of, and you're actually true individual. What I'm saying, you're not like this some cardboard cutout of like trying to keep up with the Joneses and everything like that. You're just kind of look like this person is a person of substance. This is a person who's struggled and in battle to get where they're at. What I'm saying? It's more authenticity, right?
Authenticity is really essential because there are so many people, even that I encountered that I actually was in the studio with recording at various points in my life, who were very uh, into the image. It's superficial.
Sure, yeah.
We have to present this image, but at the end of the day, that's not really who we are.
Right.
And I struggled with that because I'm like, yeah, I'm all about presentation. Presentation is essential.
Sure.
We need to take great care in how we present ourselves, but to put on this persona or this stage presence
Right.
that's not you when you come off the stage.
Right.
I struggled with that when I experienced people doing that because that's not me. Of course, you know me.
Oh yeah.
I'm extremely hyper. I'm an extreme extrovert to the absolute max. And my entire life, people have always accused me of being fake. They're like, there's no way anybody can be as positive as you. You're on drugs. You're being fake.
Right.
And I'm like,
right.
no, this is who I am. I have extreme amounts of energy,
Right,
and I
right.
love to express it on stage because that's me expressing who I am through the music and the movement of the
Exactly.
music.
Exactly.
And even in my personal life, a lot of people have always been like, it's impossible. It's impossible. Even family and friends have come up at
Mercy.
times and said, you need to stop being fake. And I'm like, this is who I am.
Right. Right.
You either you love me or hate me, and it is what it is.
Yeah, Lady Sovereign had a song about that. You should look it up and see what she says to those. Anyway, I'll just leave it at that. Anyway, but like, and that's the thing too. I think you mentioned something really beautiful because like, and I get that. Like, I'm a calm dude, okay, but I'm also a passionate dude, right? But I tell you something, man. Once you strap on a guitar and you're with a bunch of dudes and you hit that open chord in front of like 25, 50, 100 people, you ever seen Over the Top with Sylvester Stallone? You turn that hat backwards and you are absolutely unhinged somebody else. You know what I'm saying? It's like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type thing, you know? And and that's authentic. That's authentic, but I think not only, I think as you beautifully put, not only is that true as somebody who is in a band playing music, you know, that you really love and care about and invested in, but also things that you do in your own life, things about your endeavors and your goals and your visions. There is a passion that when you talk about it and present it in daily life, that it makes you. I mean, why not? Like it comes out as it's like, you know, it's like it comes out the same way, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, man. I mean, like, you are who you are. You know, it's like when do people become the authority of like who we are? You know, and the authority that we are being genuine or real or whatever.
Well, I mean, and even as, like Dr. Peterson would say, what do you know about yourself? You're still learning who you are.
Oh, truly.
And all through life, you're growing. If your intention is to grow and to become the best version of yourself possible,
Right.
you're constantly learning more about yourself. And me personally, over the past 3.5 years is really where I started the deep dive
Mm-hmm.
into learning. Who am I? What is it that makes me tick? Why am I the way I am? And
Oh, yeah.
so about 3.5, 4 years ago is when I discovered some great minds like Dr. Peterson, and it really started this journey for myself of burning off all the dead wood.
Sure.
Get rid of everything about myself that does not serve myself in a healthy way.
Right.
And it's been a very tumultuous journey, incredibly. But, and you mentioned sort of that when you really get into that moment and you become, that other part of you really comes out in the music.
Yeah, yeah.
I think Sleep Token recently released a song that really embodies that, and it's called Take Me Back to Eden. And it embodies everything from just the sheer beauty of lyrics and music and what it can be, also to the sheer darkness as well, and the mixture of those two and flow simultaneously. And it's a powerful song.
Well, and I think that is, and that's kind of that's kind of my philosophy and kind of on life, because those two things do kind of coexist, like chaos and darkness and light and chaos and order. They do kind of, or chaos and peace, I should say. Those type of things do coexist at the same time, you know, and that's okay, and that's okay because we can live in like this chaotic life at the same time. You know, we can, because without it, there is no growth, like with like resistance and conflict and chaos.
Right.
You know, because it is really how we tend to kind of navigate through all that. And the best way to do that is to find whatever gets you through it, like some kind of whatever your peace is, or whatever your joy is, or whatever your navigation system is through that, because you can those two things can coexist, because there is two, and just like you said before, it's like there's some really, I can say to myself, there's some really great thing about me, but also can say, man, there's like, just like you said, there's probably some stuff that needs to be burned off. But such is the journey, and we really need to embrace those conflicts and embrace the chaos that does happen, because they are, you know, it's like suffering is an opportunity, you know, for you. You know what I'm saying? If your perspective is that suffering is opportunity to get better, then so be it. Incendiary put a great record out this past year. It was called Change the Way You Think About Pain. And that's essential, right? Because sometimes we don't think about like running through the pain or running through the suffering, but we really because our natural tendency is to run away, right?
Right.
So I mean that's in there holds the secret.
So Jocko Willink, former Navy SEAL commander, talks a lot on that subject of leaning into the pain. Because he was on Dr. Peterson's podcast some time ago, and they talked about the fact that life is suffering. Life is full of suffering and heartbreak and turmoil, but lean into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you lean into it and embrace it,
Mm-hmm.
that you get to see who you really are and how you can grow and become better. And it's the embodiment of take up your cross, take on the heaviest responsibilities you can voluntarily and stumble towards the light. We actually, Tragic Stories In had a song that talked about actually, I think, stumbling towards the light. The closing line of that song ended with, I think, stumbling and show me the light there through the struggles. I don't remember the exact lyrical content. I'd have to ask Sam about that because he wrote it. But yeah, it's and I think that's the beauty of music.
Oh sure,
and especially this particular style of music. It's the embodiment of here's chaos, and we're creating order from that chaos.
And absolutely, I think I probably touched on it several times, like with several people, is like it's finding like in the midst of, for one I think hardcore and those type of things. Hardcore is like that genre. It's like it talks about real things that happen to us in life and how we, like it or not, how we kind of cope. And sometimes I don't have an answer. It's this conflict and it's hard and it's tough and hear me out. And sometimes it's like, well, what do I do with all this? Because we all can share, human beings can all share. We all know what it's like to suffer, right? So, I mean, take it or leave it. Sometimes it's like, well, I don't want to hear that. Sometimes it's hard to hear. But the fact of the matter, it is here and it is around. So, there's different ways you can kind of deal with suffering and deal with pain, right? And that's kind of it. But also number two, like you said, it's finding order in the chaos, right? And Lonnie was talking about last week, some of his some of his struggles and some of his pain and how I go, that's what I want the music to really be about is like, yo, man, there's struggles and there's pain, but also have the background being the music. It might sound chaotic, it might sound heavy, it might sound dissonant, but man, such is life, right? But we can navigate through it, and I think music is a really good. I think it's a good example of kind of how that we can use that to get through our not only like writing music, but also kind of listening to it too. Because you're like, man, I have something in common with this person, right? Okay, so you guys are making music, writing tunes. So how long did Tragic Stories hang around for?
2004 to about, well, I stepped away from the band, I think, in late 2006, early 2007.
Okay.
And I stepped away. And then that was about the time that Sam was winding it down, and he was getting more into more melodic music.
Okay.
We were starting to listen to a lot of Coldplay and a bunch of other things at that time. So then...
Way to go.
He still one of my favorite bands of all time. Always a good day to listen to Coldplay. But Sam then launched The Silence Tree, which was total, I guess it was, you go from the dark chaos and now there's order and beauty.
Was that going on? Were both those bands going on all at once, or was it did Tragic Stories end, and then
Tragic Stories end. He closed that chapter, and then I think started The Silence Tree all within just a few months.
Okay.
Now I was not there for the beginning of The Silence Tree. I had stepped away and started working in the studio with Michael Moorhead, who was the creator of Gazer.
Okay.
And then years before that, Michael was the founder of Mother's Day Out.
Okay.
They were on, I don't remember which label they were on. They were handpicked actually by U2 to spearhead a tour.
No way.
I don't think the full tour ever happened. I don't know all the details. I know that Mother's Day Out kind of dissolved in that period of being around U2.
Okay.
But Michael wrote one of the songs that was featured on the original Mortal Kombat movie.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's a really good songwriter. And at that time, he founded the band Gazer, and I stepped into the studio helping them. We went to Nashville and
That's
did a lot
sweet,
of recording.
bro.
So that was a fun, interesting little jaunt. But then when I stepped away from that project, my sister, who had been involved with the Silence Tree
Yeah.
as keyboardist and backup vocals,
Yeah.
had to step away for whatever reason. Something I don't remember. We'd have to ask Nicole for sure.
Okay.
But she had things going on in her life. She stepped away, and then I stepped in to fill that role.
Okay, I
So I
gotcha.
stepped into keys, backing vocals, and some ambient guitar fill.
Very
as well.
cool, man. Dude, that is rad.
Yeah.
I think the coolest dudes I ever seen on stage were like, I have a really cool, I got an old ISIS DVD, and they're playing, and like, homie's like playing keys. I go, I go, what is that strapped to his back? It's his guitar. So he's got his guitar on his back.
Yeah.
You know, so he's playing keys, but then when it's like not the key part, you just turn that bad boy around.
Yep. Yep. I did that exact same thing. And
Love
then
it.
that's exactly what I did when I was on tour with Kingsdown. I was the keys as well. So
Gotcha.
I did keys and guitar.
How many instruments can you play?
When I was playing a lot of instruments, 10 to 12.
10 to
Let's-
12?
Yeah. There's, bass guitar, lead guitar, rhythm, mandolin, violin.
You play violin?
Some cello.
Yeah.
Hammered dulcimer, lap steel, pedal steel, banjo, harmonica. I think there's a few others, but that was back like when I was like super into bluegrass primarily. So
Have you put out a bluegrass like project?
no.
What are you doing, sir? You got all those.
I'd never found the right mixture of people to put together like a folk bluegrass band. Now
Gotcha.
I did help my father write his albums. Dad was actually an actual songwriter for Chestnut Mound Music out of Nashville for several years.
No way.
I say several, maybe 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. And
Dude.
so I grew up, in that environment, right? Always constantly writing music. Dad has probably written every bit of 200 to 300 songs.
I
easily
can't even fathom.
in his lifetime.
I can't
at
even
least.
fathom.
Maybe more.
Was that like writing lyrics, like writing, or is that both?
We would, for Dad and I, sitting down in a session, we would just get the guitar and the mandolin or whatever we were playing around with, and we would just pick around, and then a melody would develop, and then within an hour we would have all the lyrics jotted down between the two of us. We would just, and so Dad had I think has recorded 3 full-length albums.
Print 3 what?
Full-length albums.
Oh, dang.
So his first one I didn't really help with. I was in the studio with him. Actually, it was in Steve Snedeker's studio. Steve has done a lot of film work through Brown University and some of the others. I think he still teaches film there.
Oh, cool, cool.
He had Gray Matter Music at the time, but that was back when I was a kid, and maybe 12, 13 years old. And then years later, Dad put out a comedy golf album that I helped write all the music for.
Dude.
He wrote all the lyrics to that. And then when Dad put together his he did a folk / I don't know what you'd call it, progressive folk album, probably 10 or 12 years ago, and I helped him write most of the music for that.
Very
And
cool.
we had a lot of fun. Tim Crouch, actually, one of the many people who worked with us on that production. Tim has done an incredible amount of fiddle, violin, and mandolin, and guitar, and lap steel, pedal steel maybe, for a lot of the big names out of Nashville.
That's crazy.
And so we got to work with him on that project. A lot of fun. So much fun. But yeah, I could sit there and write folk music all day long. It's
Yeah.
just, finding the right band. Like me and Dad, we could sit down and create an entire album probably over the period of several weeks if we
Dude.
wanted to. It's just finding, when you're actually playing, it's finding that group where everything meshes and flows. And we never really found that, but we could make it happen. We've gone in the studio, made it happen.
That's pretty impressive. I can't, you talk about how many instruments you can play. And so just, you could totally like clone yourself, I don't know, 6, 8, 9 times. And just, you ever seen that movie Multiplicity with Michael Keaton where he like clones himself like
Oh, yeah, long time ago.
4 times?
Yeah.
Okay, so you come back, you're on keys, you're playing for tragic stories, not tragic stories,
The Silence Tree.
For the Silence Tree.
Yeah.
So where is like, because you eventually like you're playing keys, you're playing guitar. Because every time I remember seeing you guys, like you were playing like pretty steady with them.
The Silence Tree,
Yeah.
Once I stepped in,
Yeah.
I was there full time.
I
I wasn't like hired gun at that point. I was full blown
You're
band
playing
member.
pretty steady.
Yeah. So, and then
Okay.
you remember Chuck Jeffcoats?
Yeah.
Chuck, love that guy. Matter of fact, talked to him just the other day.
Rad.
But he specifically learned the drums.
Yeah.
Just so he could be a member of the band, because Nick Saunders was stepping away. He was moving out of state, and so Chuck said, I believe I'm recalling this correctly. And Chuck, if you're listening, please message me and let me know if that's incorrect. But the way I remember it, you had learned drums to step into that band. So, but it was so much fun. That was probably the most fun I've ever had playing music. Was Sam and I and the crew playing the Silence Tree.
That was good times, man. I remember like because the Catalysts were like, we're kind of like there for a while. We're kind of like fireworks. We're kind of like we were there, boom, it was nice and beautiful, and we were doing things, but then like life would happen, and like people had moved off, and life happens, which is no big deal. But I remember at some point, like I tried out for drums for the Silence Tree.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know when exactly that was.
That was before I joined.
Yeah. So I tried out, but they said I didn't hit the drums hard enough. So
gotta hit those 808s with some passion, Gary.
So I was like, what do you mean I don't hit them hard enough? Anyway, so I go, look at me. I'm the gift you need for this band. Fine. You don't want to go to the next level? That's okay by me. You just have your nice, you just have your nice little band over here,
We did end up getting a record deal offered to us.
I know.
However,
was that Blood and Ink?
Raging Storm Records.
No, it was not.
Yes, sir.
No, I thought it was Blood and Ink Records.
Now, Sam, if you're listening, correct me if I'm wrong.
What was that? What that was like? I'm not calling you a liar, but no, I'm not. No,
you want to fight?
Maybe, well, that's how rumors get started, because I thought, I wonder if it was like something. Cause I could have sworn it was like somebody said like Blood and Ink was like, because that was like the.
And it could have been. They may have been looking as well.
Cause I wonder if that was like this. I wonder if that was like Blood and Ink, like they're like when they're side label, like a side label, because like Face Down Records, they had a little side label called Strike First, right?
Yeah.
Now wondering, because like Blood and Ink was kind of like the little brother, like to Face Down, kind of in comparison, because they were a newer label at that time.
Sam was handling all the business side of things at that point, and I think it was Raging Storm Records. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the deal we were offered was to actually do a 1-year preliminary tour with Sigur Rós.
Okay, so I'm going to hit stop and attempt to beat Josh up.
Again, my brother would have to clarify because he handled the business side of things at that time. But I think that it was Sigur Rós that we would actually spend a year with. And now through that connection, and I could be misremembering this, there was a potential opportunity for later on down the road, if things went well, to end up on some of the same dates with Coldplay. But that it's been so long ago, I don't remember for sure if that was
crazy,
a thing.
Dude. That's nuts even to think about, because like Sigur Rós is like one of their records is in my top 10. Like the Parentheses record is like they came out about 2000, 2002. That's one of my favorite top 10 favorite records.
Really instrumental in the music we were creating at that time.
So, have you heard the new one? There's no drummer on it, but it's fantastic though. It's really good.
Their latest release, I have not listened to.
It came out 2023, so it's like super good. No drummer. I think there's something happened with the drummer. I don't know. But like, anyway, like, so good, amazing. I mean,
yeah, they were such a powerhouse. I always have been. But yeah, I'll check out.
But that's pretty cool. But so I think you're right. I mean, I don't think you're right, but that sounds like, because I remember that like happening? Because did you guys get the offer like at Cornerstone that
I
year?
think that was the initial, like, where they piqued interest.
Did they?
And
Okay.
it was right after that I joined the Silence Tree.
Okay.
And then we were looking at the possibilities, but I think my brother at that time was
Yeah.
also going through a divorce.
Yeah.
And so, and it tore him up pretty bad. So, but that's a whole different.
And that's
thing.
a whole thing too, because like I always tell people, I was like, man, you never know what's going on, because I've had like these bands that I've really adored in the past, and like you hear something like there's two bands. Like one band was like the Falling Cycle. Like I really love those guys. They run Face Down. I thought they were just like amazing metalcore. They did it really well. I mean, just fantastic. And they totally break up before Furnace Fest. This is like the first, when Furnace Fest was on the first go around. I was like, what the heck, So, but you never know like what is going on in people's lives, because there's 5 people in a band, man. Life happens, dude, and it's going on all the time. And then from a second story window, it was like another one of those bands. Like they were just popping, and things are going great because they were unsigned for a while, but then they got a really great deal and they got on it. They got signed, put a record out, and then right after they break up. I was another band called we can go on and on. Probably it was a band called Saved by Grace that was like a really good Florida band. They got signed to Eulogy Records, and finally, because they were just putting out, I saw them in Memphis for the first time back in the day, and at the Map Room, and I go, this band is crazy. This band is amazing. They're kind of like Evergreen Terrace type level,
Yeah.
And then like they just get signed to Eulogy, and they don't even put out a record. They don't even get that far. So because the things happen, life happens. You don't hear about it till after the fact. So there's a lot. I'm saying. So I stopped. Hopefully I'm more wise than I was back in the day. Because back in the day, you're like, what the heck, man? What the heck? Just kind of being like an armchair quarterback. If that were me, I wouldn't have done that. But you don't know what you know.
Right.
So.
We really don't know what we might do in some of those situations.
Yeah, dude.
Then of course, at that time, Sam resigned the Silence Tree, and then he moved out of state. And so I was like, what am I going to do now? And at that time, Johnny Cook, who is in Kingsdown, he reached out because he had a side project called Johnny Rocket and the Real Deal.
Dude, that's such a great name.
And he said, hey, would you want to do writing and recording and touring and playing with me? So I said, yeah. So it was more almost folk country, but probably more folk, really, progressive folk. And so I stepped into that arena with him. Nice. Immediately, he had some great connections, of course, in the music industry. And we immediately started playing some fun shows. If I recall correctly, the very first show we did as Johnny Rocket and the Real Deal was opening for Thompson Square, which had their hit song that year was "Are You Gonna Kiss Me or Not?" It was huge on the country charts. And so it was fun to actually go and play with those guys and then hang out with them afterwards.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, that was at Brick House in Jonesboro.
Dude.
And and after the show, we're all standing out back. I'll never forget this. It was me, Johnny, his wife at the time, L.A. We're all standing out back rehearsing, and one of my friends at the time was living in one of the loft apartments downtown, and they were on the back deck, and they could see us behind the Brick House rehearsing our stuff.
Yeah.
And they yelled out, they're like, "Hey, Costner, after the show tonight, you want to come hang out and jam?" Heck yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Thompson Square's band members were standing there, and they were like, can we come hang out too? I'm like, well, yeah, come on. So after the show, we all go up there to the loft, and we sat up there and jammed till like 11 p.m. Then they had to get on the bus and leave. But, just little moments like that, so fun. So much fun.
So you get all these moments. You got all these moments from like playing music and being part of several bands. Like, does anything top them all? Or maybe it's not even like, because you probably don't like it or not. You were part, like I'm pretty sure you like it, but you were part of the 870 scene, and I think it's pretty awesome. And so I mean, does anything? Do you have any memories that kind of like that come out? Maybe it was like with a band, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was like seeing a band. Maybe it's just like I don't know. Do you have any like? Do you have like any good memory?
Well, some of my favorite memories were playing gigs with a band out of Fayetteville called Death Veil. Incredible band.
Okay,
They should have been up there with Coldplay as far as I'm concerned.
gotcha.
I don't think they're writing or recording anymore, but they did a lot of touring. Laura Hudson, the keyboardist, ironically, when I was younger, actually went to her church, and her mom approached me. I think I was maybe 18 or 19 at the time, and asked me if I'd be interested in dating Laura.
This is
Now,
not uncomfortable at all.
but strange. Yeah, I was like, no, I'm not interested in that right now. But uh, such is
heck,
life.
bro?
But playing gigs with Death Veil, we did several times. They were in the same vein as the Silence Tree, and it was so amazing. Another few, when I was touring with Kingsdown,
Yeah,
there was one song that we usually would wrap up the night with, and it was called "Is It Any Wonder?" It's on their album.
I gotcha.
And then James Watts and I traded off on lead parts. He played the very first lead, the intro lead part for that song, and then when we ended the song, we're just really shredding and ripping it up. I did that lead part
Gotcha.
to end the song, and I loved it because that was the song that we all completely unleashed on. If you get a chance, it's like a 5.5 minute song, but it's worth it. It's called "Is It Any Wonder?"
Where's it at?
It's on their self-titled album. It should be on
So Spot-
YouTube Music, Spotify, all that stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, the last like minute of that song, Dwayne really shows off his vocal talents. He hits a range that's just out there astronomically. It's amazing. And then I'm shredding away on that final lead piece in the song, and we just ended it just with a bang every time.
Yeah.
And it was amazing because you get to hear hundreds upon hundreds of people right there at the stage just screaming with
How
that
cool
song.
is that,
And
man?
moments like that, you feel so alive.
Oh man, yeah, dude.
And it's just a level of something I don't even know how to describe. But it's beautiful.
No.
It's just beautiful.
No.
To me, it equals those moments were the few times that the adrenaline matched of when I was in combat.
Oh, really?
And only those few times. Being able to be on stage playing. There was a couple songs with the Silence Tree that way, and a couple songs with Kingsdown that were that way. And just beautiful moments in time.
That's wild, man. So do you have any like so is there anything going on currently or music or otherwise that's really near and dear to your heart that you're currently doing or that you're wanting to do?
I'm wanting to I've really gotten in the past year. Jason Nicoli and I have started writing. We have a little just side project just to let the creative juices flow. It's
Gotcha.
called Memories and Photographs,
Sure.
and it's very pop punk.
Nice.
We've been having a lot of fun with it. We haven't really made as much time as I would like to, but of course, Jason's has a family. He's married with 4 kids. I'm a single dad, raising my daughter, plus, trying to build 2 companies from the ground up. So we don't have a whole heck of a lot of time. But the one thing I do love is that when Jason and I get it into writing mode, within an hour, we can usually hammer out an entire full punk pop song that's just fun to listen to. And that's the whole point of Memories and Photographs. We're looking back. It's more of nostalgia. We're looking back at everything we've experienced musically, and then we're writing about these experiences that we have through music and live. And it's been a blast. I think we've written 5 songs,
Dude,
4 or 5 songs in the past year.
that's rad.
And we've had a lot of fun with it. And the goal is to, eventually we're in the process of getting things ready to drop a TikTok channel.
Do all the things.
Just kind of do, and it's just a fun project just to let the creative juices flow. I really have a deep desire to get back in the studio or to have unlimited access to a studio.
Sure.
Because I have several projects in mind I've wanted to create over the years. I have a project that's very like post-hardcore that I would love to do. I have some ambient stuff I want to create, and I've been pondering creating a TikTok channel just for the ambient stuff, just for the noodling, the diddling around, if you will.
Gotcha.
Just to drop, these little 30-second teaser clips, maybe minute-long teaser clips of this ambient stuff that I have in my head.
Isn't it wild? Like you have like these various like you talk about all these projects and kind of how they kind of like they kind of differ in style, but they all kind of like saying at this kind of like it's wild to me because I have the same thing like yo I got this like I like doing this heavy stuff, but man like I want to kind of do like I think also like we have to do like some like ambient type stuff or something that's kind of more like in the middle that's kind of like I don't know, more like an indie rock type, edgy type thing. Isn't that wild? Like you have all these ideas that our mind just can't stay because we're just multi-genre people. We just got to face it.
I have a concept idea I've been working on for several years now, and I've been toying around with how I'm structuring it. And it's taking old classic hymnals and converting them all to minor keys and doing it all in a folk style.
I tell you what, that's what's been wrong with those dang things for all these years. Is nobody's those dang major keys, man.
Yeah.
Thank you,
that's
sir. I will support that all day long. Please call it minor keys. Yeah, I love it, man. That's a great idea.
Another thing that I've been toying with for years is I can sit down at a piano and I could write songs all day long on the piano.
Yeah.
And I could probably sit down in a month if I had just unlimited freedom to sit down in the studio. In a month, I could write an entire album easily on piano, just piano and ambient stuff.
Do you have a favorite key you like to play piano in? I will answer that. I will answer my question by saying I do, and it's about the only. I know other keys. Like I know how to like play another key. Well, okay, let me put it in a different way. I know like music theory, and I know how to get to other keys and play other keys. But I have like a go-to key that I play in like
C.
95% of the time. No, it's like what is it? E flat, B flat, or E flat? You know why? Because I learned how to I played. Okay, I joined band in 7th grade. I got a trombone, and it's in bass clef, so it's in B flat. So I was like, I'm an '80s kid, so I had the synthesizer at home. So like when I wanted to learn some songs, like Axel F, or whatever, some of these '80s tunes, I'd play it. Like I'd see the sheet music, and I would play like I'd play the whole scale, like B flat all the way up to.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's like that's always my go-to. So that's like.
See, the bluegrass singers would love you. Bluegrass singers love B and B flat.
Really.
Mandolin players hate everyone who loves B flat because it's one of the hardest things to play on mandolin. Oh, it's infuriating.
Well, C's not bad too because C's the other one. C's the other one too because there's lots of the kiddo just learned. Nora just learned. She learned how to play the Scientist, the Coldplay song.
Oh yeah.
That's in well, that's not entirely C. It has like a I think there is a B flat in there. There we go, B flat. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was kind of curious about that.
For me, it would probably be C. I love playing in C for some reason. Now,
That's Stephanie.
vocally, for me, singing D is probably my favorite thing to sing in. But C is so much fun to play on piano. And then musically, like on guitar, I prefer to play everything that I can in D.
Okay.
Just for the freedom, especially do an acoustic guitar, drop D, and you have so much freedom to do some really cool stuff, especially bluesy. You can get real bluesy with D or standard tuning in E. Same thing.
I tell you who the worst people on the planet are. Those who can play E standard acoustic guitar. I don't like those people. I tell you what.
I felt that. I felt those
I tell you
daggers.
what. I tell you what. An E standard guitar. Like I've tried to learn guitar 3 times, and all that crap is like it's. You got all these manuals and books, and you trying to make these chords in E standard. You're trying to like do what the guy's telling you to do. Finally, the 4th go around, I go, I don't care. I'm dropping this guitar down to D or C or whatever, and I'm gonna gonna mimic what my favorite bands play. It finally stuck.
Oh, love it.
Because it hurt your hands. Like those East, like you've played the F. Well, I know you have. Like playing the F chord.
There's a reason it's called the F chord.
That's the truth. Yeah, Lady Sovereign has a song for you. Yeah, anyway, not for you.
Just a second. I'm so sorry. He's fly. I'm very sorry. I think I let him in whenever I went outside and picked that phone call. They're just like hanging out on your hats and stuff. And I'm like, oh my god.
We got so many flies in here.
swatter.
It's probably because of the dead body out back. But anyway, that's probably why we have so
Glad
many
I'm not the only one.
Well, I'm really sorry. They weren't in here when you first got here. I think I let them in.
Actually, I'm going to run, since we're paused,
Yes.
I'm going to use the restroom real swiftly.
All right.
Just
I
so
got
that
it.
I'm not
I got it
going.
marked. I'm going to keep it going. Well, actually, I'll pause it. But I've already marked it anyway, so it won't matter because I can edit all that out.
All right. So we are debladdered. Actually, that's a bad way. We are de-urined.
Let's just say we're about 5 pounds
We went
lighter.
to the bathroom. We went to the bathroom. We're all good now. We're all clear. So we are we
Debladdered?
debladdered.
That sounds surgical.
It sounds very surgical.
I
That
think you need
sounds.
your better.
I learned that one from Lecter, Hannibal Lecter.
God. Wow.
Oh shoot, man, that dude was crazy, man. I know he wasn't a real person, but still, Hannibal Lecter.
Or was he?
I don't know, man. I can't get behind that series, man. It's just too much blood for me, dude. I couldn't do it.
Now, see, I'm out of the loop. There's a series about him.
Yeah, Hannibal, right, doll?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't.
Well, it's already going to be dark. So
Like the older I get, the less blood I can do in movies. Isn't that weird?
with me being a werewolf, I seem to crave it more and more.
You werewolves. So hey, this is the part of the podcast where we're gonna do top 5 on the fly, and it's where we kind of like we kind of go through like what we're listening to here currently, and we take the top 5 out of that, the top 5 songs. What the heck is wrong with you, dog?
He got super excited when he heard top 5.
Sheesh, bro. Your reputation. Oh my gosh, that dog. Anyway, so we're gonna list our top 5, our current of what we're currently listening to, and which kind of gives you an opportunity to kind of like, hey, check out new music, what other people are listening to. So how it's gonna work is I'm gonna start it off. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say my number 5, and then you're gonna say your number 5, and
Awesome.
back and forth.
Nice.
Okay. So to kick it off, so if I just had, off the top of my head without scrolling through my phone, I'm gonna say my number 5. Well, actually, I will say there's a really good band called One Step Closer.
Mm-hmm.
They're now listen, because like One Step Closer is a really cool band because they're kind of like a melodic hardcore band, and they actually kind of got like that's where they kind of get most of their love from. But their new stuff, they're on the brink of coming out with a new record. They have dropped 3 new singles. If you go check them out, they kind of sound like Under Oathy. So if you're really kind of into that, if you don't like Under Oath, for whatever reason, but like, or they do what they do very, very well. Lots of singing parts, lots of melodic choruses and things like that. So give One Step Closer a chance, and I think you will thank me for it. That's my number 5.
Awesome.
So Josh, what do you got?
So I guess my number 5 would be Noah Kahan right now. First discovered him through his song Stick Season.
Okay.
And then started listening to some of his other stuff recently and really enjoy it because that takes me back to sort of the folky bluegrass stuff that I grew up on.
I was going to ask you what that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, more folk bluegrass. Very very fun to listen to. But a good introduction to him would be the song "Stick Season."
Very
So,
cool. Yeah, because I want to make sure. Yeah, we need to pull out songs. So Stick Season.
yeah,
What's the guy's name?
Noah Kahan.
Noah Khan. Okay. All right. I like it. We need more bluegrass in our lives.
It's more folk bluegrass, but it's definitely really it's a modern take on it.
My kid will kind of send me stuff like folk music and everything. I'm so thankful she does that. She has good taste in music as well. Um, okay. My number 4, I'm gonna go with a band. Well, anyway, I'll be that guy, but Knocked Loose came out with a new song. Recently they did a collaboration with a female artist named Poppy. I was kind of skeptical, like it was actually going to work, but it does actually work. It's probably their best song. I think it's like so far, because you know how bands do nowadays, they'll drop singles before they kind of drop their
Yes.
records. So
Right. Yeah.
so what they've done so far is really it's really good. Um, so I didn't think it would work. It worked. It's probably the best one so far off the new record. Um, but and probably the top 5 in their latest catalog. The new song is called Suffocate.
Okay.
So hey, give it a chance.
Will do.
I think this new Blinding Faith record they're doing, I think it's a lot of a search for. I think it's a lot of the guys have kind of like, as many people have been kind of burnt by like religion and things like that. I think this is basically them processing through all that, kind of, like it or not. Okay, that's it. That's my number 4.
Awesome. Now this is going to be a lot more mainstream for my
Okay.
number 4, but I've been listening to her a lot lately. Would be Lana Del Rey.
What song?
Born to Die is one I've listened to a lot lately.
Dude, it's such a good song.
Yeah. And I just love her style because for me, she embodies what spring and summer should sound like. So there's this haunting beauty in the music. There's still some minor keys in there
Yeah.
that touch on the tragedy of life, but also there's some beautiful melodies that really embrace moments of happiness too. And so she really embodies that for me.
That record is my favorite by her. It has that song and Summertime Sadness on that. Just so good, dude. I think she pulls back some of that. She pulls back on some of that retro flavor.
Yes.
Like you hear like people back in the '60s. What was like Sinatra's daughter? Like I kind of get some of those kind of feels. It's really cool. I like it. I like it a lot. That's a very kind of nostalgic record without being a nostalgic record.
It does call to another time in music.
It does. It really does. If you listen to it, it kind of pulls away from that. Yeah, I like that. That's a good choice, man. I like that a lot. So I am going to pull up. Let me check it out. There is. I'm really into like what's kind of going on like modern hardcore nowadays. So you need to check out a band called Initiate. Initiate is a really good. It's a hardcore band, but also you can tell there's lots of like grungy or like alternative rock, shoegazy stuff. It's really hard to pinpoint that's kind of going on with it. So it doesn't sound like your regular, just like run-of-the-mill hardcore band, but it's very, very hardcore. But something's going on with it nowadays. You remember like back in the day when like Trustkill, Trustkill is like a hardcore record label, but you have bands like 18 Visions that would like sing on songs, right?
Right.
And like, or even like Remembering Never, like heavy band, like heavy hardcore band, but they would like add some singing parts to it. So something's really kind of cool is kind of going on with like hardcore right now. I think it's just basically because people have like different musical interests, like me and you do. It's just not one genre. But yeah, we'll go check out Initiate. No song in particular. Just go check out that band. I think you'll enjoy it.
Okay, definitely. My number 3 right now would have to be the artist Aurora.
Dude, great choice, bro.
Yeah.
So good.
Top song for me right now from her would be Running with the Wolves.
Running with the Wolves.
Yeah. And just her vocal quality is so ethereal and otherworldly. And
It's
her
so good,
songwriting
dude.
is so unique. I just love her approach and her vocal range and her vocal style. It's It's like a journey into maybe a fall/winter in Skyrim. And my gamer nerd side comes out.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Other people do though. That's all that matters. But yeah, that's a real good choice. The first time I heard her was like, have you heard the Murder song?
Mm-hmm.
Such a good song.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Good choice, man. Look at you busting out the great taste in music here. And you're pulling stuff like out of your hat, like from this like several years back. Really cool, man. I like it, man. I will pull out a band. Again, I don't have any particular track, but like you should go listen to a band called High Viz. High, one word. Next word is BIS. They're from Great Britain or in that area. Great band, dude. We saw them at Furnace Fest, and I could not. I was my highly anticipated band to see because it pulls away kind of like if you're say like it kind of sounds like it's not hardcore, but it's like what is it like? You kind of think of like you're like like the Clash, or that it's like a punk type oi stuff. They're not really singing, but they're not really screaming either. But
Like it's almost shouting spoken word lyrics.
yeah, it's just like it's super good because it sounds like I forget the genre, but like what was like that? What was the '80s genre that they came out? Bands like The Fix, and Duran Duran, and
Oh,
I can't
gosh.
remember.
Duran Duran was.
That was kind of more like a pop. That's kind of like pop noise, but I'm trying to think like
with some industrial mixed in too.
nah, I can't think of it now. But anyway, I'll try. Go listen to High Viz. It's tough to really kind of to explain,
Mhm.
but I think you really enjoy it. I just can't think of the genre right now.
Gotcha.
But anyway,
High
it's
Viz.
kind of the punk. It's kind of the punk genre.
Okay.
So I know I'm kind of like rambling trying to think about it, but
Is it closer to like the Sex Pistols or
no,
no?
not really so
No.
much. Not really so much. Um, but I think if I think of it, I'll
Okay.
mention it. Anyway,
I'll dive into it today and take a listen to
my
those
number
guys.
3. That's my number 3. What you
Gotcha.
got, man? I'm so stoked.
Gosh, let's see. Was that number 3 or number 4? But yeah, we're in number 3 right now. So,
Yeah. We're number 3 right now.
For me, it's going to be more of an individual. Hans Zimmer, the composer.
Yo, he's so good.
And most recently, I've been listening nonstop to the actual score of the soundtrack for Dune Part 2.
What?
And I've been listening to that nonstop, especially in like morning meditations and getting the day started.
So he did the Dune 2 soundtrack.
Well, he did Dune Part 1 and Part 2 soundtracks, but yes, Hans Zimmer. Specifically, one song off of the score is called Worm Ride, and it is epic. I mean, you put that on and close your eyes with the headphones in, and it just takes you to a completely another place in the universe.
He's got quite the catalog, Mr. Hans Zimmer.
Yes.
He's
If there was ever the embodiment of the gentleman sitting at a piano and jamming away while it's on fire, and I can't remember which music video that's from, but that song embodies that entirely. It's like, let's do something epic, and he's like, hold my beer. Yeah, takes it to a whole new level.
I love soundtracks. Oh, yeah. I was talking about one of my favorite movies is The Usual Suspects, and I was at work talking about The Usual Suspects, and I go, I want to know who did the soundtrack for that one, because that was a good one. Look, there's some that are just flawless, man. Some that are just flawless.
Yeah.
I'm like, you got to find the guy who did it. That's great, man. Great choice, man. Hans Zimmer. Is this my number 2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My number 2 is going to be no. My number 1. I'm done. Oh man, already number 1. Shoot. Okay, hold on. Just give me a second. I'm gonna scroll. I'm gonna scroll. I'll tell you what. I love this song. So this is the actual song. This is a song by Fiddlehead called "Sullen Boy." Man, dude, Such a great record. It's the singer. He used to sing. Uh, he was the singer for Have Heart, and
Someone else recommended that song to me recently, and I
really,
cannot remember who. But
it's so
yeah,
good, dude. Yeah, it's old singer Have Heart. Well, Have Heart was like a hardcore band, but Fiddlehead is a little less hardcore. It's kind of a punky type, but it's like super melodic, man. The chords are, it's just beautiful. They put out three so far. This new one is the last record. They kind of really touched on a lot about loss and about especially like losing people who are really important to you, and it kind of was like a really cool therapeutic way to kind of deal with those type of things. And Sullen Boy kind of like it's probably I mean the next the next record I call it the Yellow record. The song on it called Sullen Boy. It's beautiful. Like there's this part on a minute 21. It goes into this riff. It's just beautiful. It hits just the right chords, and the song and the lyrics are basically about things that are really important to you, and basically like he talks about his kids and everything else. It just he does such a great way of kind of like painting this picture of like um, them meaning his, they're his world, and you know, I get it, So anyway, go check out Sullen Boy by Fiddlehead, and it's a very, very proper number one for sure.
will do.
Yeah, man.
For me, number one lately has been uh, Sleep Token.
Okay.
And their song, I think, was released right at a year ago. It is called Euclid, and it has been described in the metal world as a worship song.
Gotcha.
Strangely enough,
Gotcha.
and I've seen many a metalhead just literally start crying in this song, and it is so powerful and beautiful,
Well,
and it talks about loss as well. It talks about the love of the memories and what something that was bonded and built and these experiences, and knowing that it can't last. So enjoying what we can in that moment of a relationship or a bond or a friendship. Or I think it was written probably more in the romantic sense,
Gotcha.
probably.
I gotcha.
But it's so powerful, and it evokes all the emotions, and it's beautiful.
I'm gonna have to try Sleep Token again. I think I don't know. It's like one of those bands, like because everybody, man, everybody's like talking about them, and they're getting all kinds of love and everything, and I'm kind of have to go like revisit those dudes and everything. I'm one of these guys, like just because I can't latch onto it now, maybe I'll kind of later on.
Euclid is there's no screaming in it really. It's all just pure melodic,
Pure melodic
beautiful,
stuff.
layered vocals over each other. That's just amazing. It's almost, honestly, it's almost Silence Tree.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but if you want the harder stuff, a mix of the beauty and the extreme heaviness, the song "Take Me Back to Eden" would be the one, because it ends on a exceedingly heavy note.
Really?
Yeah, beautiful.
I like it, man. I mean, I can get behind lyrics, dude. That's for sure. Because I love me some melodic, man. I mean, I can get behind some, like Sugarosa will have any drums on this new one. He just sings. It's just this is like this soundscape of just beauty, and sometimes I don't know what the heck that dude is saying in Icelandic or whatever, but it's beautiful and wonderful,
You feel it.
You feel it.
Feel it. You don't have to understand it. You feel it.
That's what translates to me. I'll definitely check that out, man, for sure. So okay, so that's the that's it, right? That's our top five.
Top five.
That's not a bad top five.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
And just encourage everybody out there listening, go check out all these bands we just mentioned, and let us know what you think about them.
And people need to start bands.
Yes, creativity. Let the creativity flow.
What was the hardest thing about starting a band?
Making, in the busyness of life and the responsibilities, making the time to make it happen.
I think it's tough now. Like it's tough now. Like I love my family above all, and it's like, and yet it's like, it's trying to kind of navigate like just doing getting together and making music, because there's a whole thing, right? Like you've got to write the music, you got to get together with a bunch of dudes, and everybody has families and everything else, and you kind of have to
prioritize. You have to adjust your priorities and make sure you have the right priorities in place, but also realize that there is a part of you, especially if you're a creative, which is not common, actually, by the way. There's not a wide variety of creative people on the planet, strangely enough.
I just don't know what I would do.
You have to make sure that you have that outlet, because if you don't, it can develop some resentment, some bitterness.
Oh yeah.
And so you have to make time for that.
So while we were not podcasting, like Josh got to show off his piano skills. That was beautiful, buddy.
Thank you.
That was beautiful, man. You got to. I mean, you got to and to do it for the pure love of it, man. Get on the piano, get on a draw, or do something, man. Like do something. If you're creative, write whatever it is, man. Even if it doesn't see the light of day,
That's the whole point. I mean, my childhood dream was to become a movie director.
Yeah.
And I have, over the years, roughed out 6 full-length movie screenplays.
What?
Yeah. That was my biggest dream ever, was to do that. As a matter of fact, coming out of the military, I wanted to go to Full Sail University and study filmmaking. But the VA would not approve that. They said, well, that's not an approved real-life degree plan. You have to do something else. So I went into something else. I spent several years at university studying emergency management and specializing in disaster mitigation.
Because that's what you're doing, right? That's what you're doing now. That's the dream, right?
Yeah, that's I've been for 4.5 years writing a book on it, and it's such a monster of a project. Oh my God, it's so much larger than I ever thought it would be. I thought, oh, how hard can it be to write a book?
Right.
Good Lord.
It's a thing, man.
It's massive, but I'm much closer to finishing it now than I ever have been before. Thank God. I've been in the project of trying to get my own podcast launched as well, which I'm right on the cusp of that. Finally.
What's that going to be about?
Disaster mitigation.
Beautiful.
It'll be about it's talking about what is mitigation, which mitigation is just a fancy word for lowering the impact of disasters. That's all it is.
It's needed, man.
And the thing is, our entire society we're responsive. We're not proactive. We're retroactive, if you will. We don't really plan ahead in our infrastructure, especially for disasters. We know natural disasters are coming. There's over $12 billion in losses every single year from natural disasters in this country. Over $12 billion.
Right.
But yet we act shocked every time a natural disaster hits.
Yeah, dude.
So I've spent the past 12, 13 years of my life dedicated to becoming the authority in disaster mitigation. And at the end of this year, I will have taken every single course that has ever existed from our leading agencies in emergency management regarding mitigation. And so at this point,
how frustrating is it? I mean,
it's frustrating because I know more about disaster mitigation than probably 99% of other human beings on the planet. But I also know that I can present all the proof in the world, and we have these scientifically backed proof that for every dollar invested in mitigation, it saves over $6 in recovery costs later. However, I can present all that proof to the entire world, and I'm in the process of doing it, but I know probably less than 5% will actually ever implement any kind of change. So I am literally trying to plant a forest that I will never sit under. And I can only hope that this forest grows and future generations will somehow benefit from it.
Well, that's the thing, right? That's the thing. That's noble, and that's...
I'm trying to think of it 500 years down the road. What's the results of my work going to be 500 years from now? 1,000 years from now? Will it impact lives in a positive way?
Right.
Doing everything I can to make that happen.
Well, I just know, kind of what I do on a daily. Prevention is where it's at, right? And just like self-care and prevention and taking care of yourself. Do all those things now, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm in the business of crisis, and when a crisis happens, it's too late. It's kind of like the guy who breaks into your house at 3 a.m. That's not the time to start doing push-ups to gain muscle strength to overcome your invader, right?
Right.
You need to be like doing the work beforehand, right, for yourself. And crisis, and that will always be there. Like, crisis will always be there. Like mitigation, or not, these things like people's responses to like crisis, they will always be there. But man, I tell you what, you can really lower it by just like setting good habits and just like setting, uh, putting doing all the work beforehand, because so you don't have to, or you're better prepared if and when, because you can't predict crisis. You're not going to predict when it's going to happen, but we just know like things are going to happen. So why not be prepared and be proactive now, right? So I'm like,
If you're proactive and prepared as you can be, you've
prepared as you can be.
increased your resilience.
Yeah,
And when your resilience is increased, you are better able to take care of yourself,
hmm,
and in turn, you can better help those around you, whether it's your family, it's your
yep,
neighborhood. And now, if everyone starts doing that, you've increased your community resilience, and then you've increased your city
right.
resilience, and then your state resilience, and then eventually your country's resilience to disaster.
I think it's just wise. Just wise living.
It is.
Um, so what do you have going on now? Because I know you had like I know you're big on self improvement. I know you're big on uh, helping combat veterans, who do deal with like PTSD and things like. What's going on there?
So I haven't done a whole lot in the combat veteran realm lately. Just I've had so much that I've been doing, trying to grow a company that I started a few years ago with a business partner. We were probably 18 months, almost 2 years into the process of getting a lot of approvals at the Washington, D.C. level to
Gotcha.
be ahead of everyone else, if you will. Um, there's certain certifications and specialties that once approved from the Washington, D.C. level, that gets us an edge up on getting into the defense contracting realm, which is what we're stepping into with this particular consulting firm
Gotcha.
that my business partner and I have launched. It's a lot of it is still at ground floor development.
Gotcha.
It takes a lot of effort to get into that realm. I think we're waiting on like the last 2 approvals, maybe the last 3 approvals to come
Gotcha.
through. But yeah, almost 2 years into that process, and the current administration moves very slowly on that.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So the patience, you have to have the patience of Job
I gotcha. I
to
gotcha
get
for
into
sure.
this.
Because that's where your heart is big. Your heart is really close to that, and I know you're a combat veteran, and I definitely like, kudos and much love to you for that, and definitely appreciative, for that, for you guys. Our band is, we have 2 veterans in our band, and love those dudes immensely and everything. So I tip my hat to you for that, for sure. And it's much needed. We need these guys. These guys need a place to talk, and these places need like a cup of coffee and a conversation,
Yeah.
sometimes. And sometimes sometimes it's just that simple, right?
Well, and it's in the combat veteran community, it's a relatively small community, and there is, once you leave active duty, there's kind of a feeling of loss because you have such a close camaraderie. You're literally, each other so well, and you trust each other so implicitly to keep each other alive in combat.
Yeah.
It takes an incredible amount of trust, and it's just, in my experience, it's not really found outside of that little community.
Yeah.
You get into the civilian world, you get into the civilian jobs, there is no trust. Everybody will stab you in the back for the next leg up the ladder of success, if you will.
Right.
And it's just infuriating. No one takes you seriously at your level of expertise and what you had to be in charge of and what you could handle.
Right. Right.
They actually scoff at it oftentimes. They're like, "Well, yeah, that's not real experience." I've seen that countless times in the corporate realm.
Gotcha.
And so there's a lot of it can induce a lot of frustration and anger because of that. And so you have to find, you have to keep your team together. You have to find your fellow veterans in your community that you can bond with.
Sure.
And keep that connection alive. Because otherwise you will drift, and it's a very, very frustrating path if you allow yourself to go down that. So I've spent a lot of my time investing in hosting little get-togethers, whether it's for a long time I called it combat coffee, but just maybe once a month, veterans get together and just encourage each other through the challenges of life.
Dude, I mean, there's such a power in community. Anyway, that's powerful. That's another thread of life, that you need community no matter where you're at.
Yes.
In your life, you're not built to do this thing solo at all and everything. I think that's wherever you're at, wherever, whether you're a veteran or not a veteran, you need to find community, man. I don't know where that's at for you, but you need to find it and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing I think everybody kind of found within the music scene here, the 870 and everything. Everybody kind of found that camaraderie and that community. We all kind of shared. It's so funny. I mean, it's everybody comes from a wide array of beliefs and values and everything else, but we seemed to be able to get together and have community and be there. There was like this brotherhood type thing together where we were there for each other, and kind of thick or thin, we shared the same music, we shared the same experiences, and we can have a conversation. If it wasn't about, I have friends, and I know you have friends too, that we can't, there's certain things we may differ on, but nothing we'll ever differ on is like just our experiences and the beauty of the music and a scene that we love so much, because it's much more than just music. There's much more depth to it, and that's powerful, man. And I definitely appreciate you and the music that you created and everything. And I think anybody who picked up an instrument and sang or played keys or whatever, even people who just showed up to shows, I mean, without kids showing up, there are no shows. There is no scene if kids
Right.
not showing up to anything, and that matters. This, don't say it don't matter. You not showing up, it does matter. Be there, be supportive. And if you can't play music or do something, like just show up, like when these bands play, and it means the world. And anyway, long story short, buddy, I do appreciate and everything. You're a good friend and everything.
Likewise.
Music is amazing and beautiful, and even things you're doing now, man. I mean, even if we don't see it in our lifetime, so be it, man. But man, legacy is a powerful thing, right?
Yeah.
Your name carries on, and the cause you believed in, right? So.
I think that's probably one of the most powerful things we can consider in our lifetime is, even if it's just the legacy within our own family, what legacy are you going to leave behind?
Right on.
Overall, because you're always going to have haters, no matter what, no matter how you live your life.
Mm-hmm.
But to those that mattered most, what will your legacy be? And that's something I didn't even consider till probably within the last 5 years.
Oh yeah, dude.
But now that I've considered it, and it has weighed heavy on my shoulders.
Yeah, dude. That's for real.
What are you doing?
That's for real, dude. So be it, man. That's awesome, dude. Well, John, you're not John. Holy, I am on.
Who's John?
I am on. I promise I'm straight edge. I promise I don't do drugs. I am 50 though.
Hey, Jeffrey, it's okay.
Oh shit. You're the man, bro. I love you.
Love you.
Oh, this totally just botched. I've totally botched my whole outro, man. It's terrible now. It's not gonna mean the same. Okay. No, anyway, okay. Anyway, bro. Well, Josh, listen. I love you. I'd love to sit here and talk to you all day, but I'm not going to. I got a thing I got to do.
Love you
I will
too,
talk
bro.
to you. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you for having me, bro.
You're welcome, man. Anytime.
Always.
Bye-bye.